the mandala offering, and then Rinpoche will be starting teaching. Sa shi pegi jushi meto dang lira pinchi be gemba sanje shindo me de wa yi dogen namda shima idama guru rana
Oh yeah, basically. Zang Yin, Che Dang, Zo Ji, Zhang Nam La, Chan Ju, Bo, Dan Ye, Jia Ge, Che, Da Ye, Chui Xie, Ye Wen, Zhang Nam Man Ye, Zha La, Den Che, San Ye, Zhang Ye, Zhou, Zang Ye. So ye zhong nam la jian jiu ba ge na ne jia zu ji da ye xue xie ye wei fang ma la bian jie san ye ru wo zhu ma yu dan kan ni ko da san ye ji ma ji ji ni ko sha ye che zu dan bei chu sa ma nyang su long chao ni bu long ju ni de ma na ne ko sa ka wei ko ne ani sem ba shu de ring kang sem ba che wei kang sem ba che wei ki 주주의 고민 때문에 지금 넘어가자. 지금 무슨 니? So the teaching that we will be going through today. So please listen to the following teaching with the Mahayana aspiration, that of aspiring to attain enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. And in order to do that, I will listen to this teaching, and I will listen attentively to this teaching. So please listen to the following teaching with such motivations. And the teaching that we will be going through today is, so this will be one of the mind trainings. So there are a number of mind trainings in the within the Tibetan Buddhist history. Within the history of Tibet, there has been a number of mind training texts. One can say in a more general way, one can say that all the Buddha's teaching are mind training, because they're always they are all to deal with the how to train the mind. But at the same time, so certain teaching that is termed as mind training, that started, I think, mainly from the Atisha's time. And so the Atisha's disciples were known as the Kadambas, who emphasized on the Lojong, or the mind training lineage. So without further ado, so we will go into the mind training. So the text that we will be following today is known as the mind training in a single session. So that is written by Chim Namkha. So Chim Namkha, so this particular teacher or author is a 14th century master, a great practitioner, as well as a learned scholar from Tibet.
So this particular teaching is called mind training in a single session. So Chim Namkha belongs to the 13th century. So so please excuse me. So we will go with the Chim Namkha's mind training, known as mind training in a single session. So I think I will go with the Tibetan first, and then make the English translation. Lama yang babe kiwe shenye nama chate lo tamba dila tuen somo de tambo joani ne wembara tamba dila tuen som des. So the first is that Chim Namkha pays homage to his teacher, so to all of his teachers, and his main teacher is Dromden Rigvedeti, and so he pays homage to his teachers. So by paying homage to the teacher, one is also acknowledging that paying gratitude to the person who passed the knowledge from them to you. So the first is to pay homage to the teachers and the perfect spiritual friends. So Lama Yang Tabe Kiwe Shinye. So Lama is a Sanskrit, is derived from the Sanskrit guru, La meaning higher, or in the Sanskrit, the root word meaning also heavier. So the guru has to be heavier or has to be weightier in the sense, quality-wise, the guru has to be heavier than you. So whatever teaching that you are receiving from the guru has to have at least more knowledge about the subject that is being taught to you. You might, if you remember the story of Chowajipande Atisha Dipamakara, and his main bodhicitta teacher, who is known as Lama Selingpa, the one from the Golden Land, Selingpa, who we nowadays recognize as Indonesia. So Lama Selingpa, knowledge-wise, we might say, Lama Selingpa, realization-wise or intellectual-wise, Lama Selingpa holds the view of the Chitta Matrins, or the mind only, which is within the 4 tenets of the Buddhism. This belongs to the lower Mahayana. So, you know, there are 2 types of Mahayana, the Mahayana as in the tenets and Mahayana as in the practice. When we talk about Mahayana as in Mahayana and Hinayana in practice, in regards to practice itself, we are talking about someone who has a larger mindset, or someone who has the capacity, higher mental capacity, someone who is capable of taking care of all sentient beings, or just yourself, or just for this very lifetime, so on and so forth. So that is the Mahayana and Hinayana in the so we call them Nyendu ki Chokdama Vekansa and Nyendu ki Tekpa. So when we talk about Nyendu, or sorry, not Hinayana, the Sharvaka. So when we talk about the Sharvaka, there are 2 types of Sharvakas, or the hearers. The one in the Sharvaka Yana, or the Sharvaka school of thought, or the Sharvaka philosophy, and the Sharvaka practitioners. When we talk about the Sharvaka practitioners, we are talking about someone who has a lower mental capacity, someone who is satisfied with attaining nirvana, not the complete nirvana, Buddhahood, but the arhathood for oneself, and not caring or not being able to take care of all sentient beings. So this is the Hinayana in practice. But when we talk about Hinayana in tenet-wise, Trutta, that is philosophical Hinayana, that is a different one. Sorry, philosophical Sharvaka, that's a different category. So there are Sharvakas or Sharvakas in the, so Sharvaka and the Pratyekya Buddhas belong to the lower yana, and the Bodhisattva yana, the Bodhisattvas belong to the Mahayana or the higher yana or higher vehicle. But when we talk about the vehicle, there are two types of vehicle. There are two types of Mahayana practitioners: Mahayana in practice and Mahayana in philosophy. Anyway, so I think I'm going too technical here. So the point I'm trying to make here is that Lama Selingpa, Atisha's teacher, intellectual-wise, he is lower because he holds the view of the Semsamba. But still, Atisha holds the Lama Selingpa as his main teacher because in regards to learning about the practice of bodhicitta, in regards to learning about the practice of bodhicitta, Lama Selingpa was the one who benefited. Oh, very good. So we have the practice here. So in regards to learning about the practice of bodhicitta, Lama Selingpa is the main teacher for Atisha. So that's, so even though intellectual wise Atisha may be higher than Lama Selingpa, but because he is the main source for his understanding and realization as regards to the bodhicitta practice came from Lama Selingpa. So, you know, you have the wisdom and the compassion hand in hand. So the compassion aspect, the cultivation of compassion practice for Atisha came from none other than Lama Selingpa. So that's why he regards Lama Selingpa as his main teacher. So since we have the book, I think it's proper to go with the book. So we will stick. So first is the homage to the teachers, the perfect spiritual friends. Spiritual friend is a term in Tibetan we call Geweshinye, or which is translated as spiritual friend, which is very aptly translated in English as spiritual friend, which is Kalyan Mitra in Sanskrit. So Kalyan meaning virtue, and the Mitra meaning friend. So Kalyan Mitra is someone who helps you to develop virtues. So a spiritual friend is someone who helps you develop, who helps you improve and develop your virtues. So in that sense, one might say a spiritual friend is a very apt, appropriate translation. So a teacher is usually regarded as, in the Sanskrit, we call the teacher is regarded as Kalyan Mitra, or a spiritual friend. So a friend, as we say, a friend in deed is a friend indeed. So a friend is someone who helps you. So in this case, someone who helps you grow, internally, someone who helps you gap from this lifetime to the next lifetime, from this ordinary state to the enlightened state. So such is a spiritual friend. November Sangju meeting with Chomebe Neso, David Tana do the Gambo the same Chela, Rangi, Chuma Put they met some. So there are 3 points to this instruction: the preparatory practice, the main practice, and the concluding practice. So in all the practices, especially in the Lamrim, we always have the preparatory, which is to kind of set the mood, if you like, to set the atmosphere, both externally and internally. So that is the preparatory. That is the preparation practice, the preparatory practice. So you might clean your house, keep away all the disturbing, or anything that might draw your attention away from the practice that you are going to do, so on and so forth. So the preparatory practice, the main practice, and the conclusion. So we call them jorwa muishi jesum. So of the three, the first one is the preparatory practice, which is the first. The preparatory practice is as follows: in a solitary place, a site free of conditions non-conducive to observing pure ethical conduct. So here, when we talk about pure ethical conduct, it must be something that will not draw your attention too much, so that you will be having attachments towards. So if there is a very beautiful, very melodious sound playing in the background, this might draw your attention. Or if there is a horn blaring or something, anything like that, this will draw your attention, and you might not be at, let's say, peace with yourself in a sense. Your mind will be tumultuous. So that is something you want to avoid. So observing pure ethical conduct. So an atmosphere that is non-conducive to observing pure ethical conduct. So if there is a so you know what I mean, something that will not draw your attention away, something that will not draw your attention away from the practice that you are going to you are planning to do. So with that, sit on a comfortable cushion, comfortable seat, and then go comfortable seat. And then go for refuge and generate the awakening mind. Or awakening mind. Then contemplate your body as devoid of substantial reality, like a balloon filled with air. So here, so a comfortable seat is something that you will. So a comfortable seat is something that will not something that will not draw your attention too much, your awareness too much. So whatever position is comfortable for you. Usually in the text, sort of a lotus position is recommended, because that is another matter. But depending on which part of the world you are, which type of sitting you are more accustomed with, it's better to stick with that, because you are more comfortable sitting in that position. So it should be comfortable, meaning it should not draw your attention too much. So whatever position that you are in, if you feel comfortable in it, then that's fine. It should not be too comfortable as to make you feel drowsy and then go to sleep and so on and so forth. But something that is not too uncomfortable that it will draw your attention again and again. Then by sitting on a comfortable position, then you take refuge in the to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, of course, and then to your guru, which is the awakening mind or the bodhicitta, that you are doing this practice for the sake of all sentient beings. Then contemplate your body as So after that, you must contemplate. You must visualize your the wholeness of your body to be devoid of any inherent existence, any substantial existence. So the body having a reality that is independent of the label, or independent of the label that has been given by the mind, the observer. So no phenomena exist independent of the label it was given by the mind that observes it. So such an existence is known as an existence of such a thing is known as inherent existence. And so visualize your body as having no inherent existence, so something devoid of substantial reality. So when we say like a balloon filled with air, when we were kids, we would fill the balloon with air, and then we usually blow to the onto the balloon, and then it keeps swaying here and there in the air. Similarly, visualize that your body is devoid of any substantial reality, so much so that if someone was to blow very strongly onto your body, then it will sway here and there because it does not have any substance of its own. There is nothing to be stuck with. There's nothing to, nothing for the body to be tethered with and within. So it would be something like a balloon in swaying in the air. Dene ning we ka we phungpor kom ti jiwe zu du pema tang da we ding ge den do za la ma gom sang ge na ta de par ki ba da chunde yo ba da yidam ge la da sang ge da shan ju sam ba tham chong mo di nyam do sams. So after that, imagine your heart as a mass of white light, and at your crown visualize your root teacher seated on a cushion of moon upon a lotus. So we have that a lot. We usually say, which means even though the lotus usually signifies transformation. So even though the Padma lotus is born within a marshy, muddy swamp, but it is not stained with any of the atmosphere that it grew in. So unstained by the very atmosphere within which it grew. So that is what it can be. So Padma or lotus signifies transformation, symbolizes transformation. So that's why you see all the Buddhas and a number of bodhisattvas, and usually all the deities sitting on the Padma seat. So that signifies that those Buddhas and teachers, gurus and deities and bodhisattvas and so on and so forth came into being. So this is not like a primordial creator God that has been there from beginningless. So we are talking about different Buddhas and bodhisattvas and deities, even though we talk about gods, but it's not the God. So they all came into being. There was a cause and condition. There was a cause and there was a result. So this is the result. So it signifies there's a transformation. It signifies there is a becoming. So it was not as such from the very beginning. So the moon signifies compassion, bodhicitta usually, bodhicitta. But we normally say use the word compassion a lot because we don't have an sort of an English sort of equivalent for bodhicitta. So we usually use wisdom and compassion, but actually it should be wisdom and bodhicitta. So the moon signifies compassion. Moon signifies bodhicitta. So which means out of utmost compassion, the gurus, the deities, the Buddhas appear for us, in front of us, for us. Moon upon a lotus, and contemplate him to be the sole embodiment of all the lineage masters from the Buddha to the present. So here I would like to highlight that when you do that, when we do the lineage tree, accumulation farm, merit field, accumulation farm or merit field, we have a number of gurus and deities and surrounding and all that. But a number of time we may not be doing the merit field. We may not be visualizing the merit field, the accumulation farm. In such cases, when we have to usually pick up, when we say pick up a guru or say visualize your guru as such and such and such and such, unless directed within a certain initiation, at which point a guru is the one who is giving the initiation. And in most other cases, a guru is your Tsawe Lama, your root guru. So that your root guru can be someone who is closest to you, or in other sense, someone closest to you, not because he makes you feel comfortable and he doesn't say anything, whatever bad thing you do, but because through this guru, whether he treats you well or really badly, it has been through this particular guru that you were able to improve spiritually, that you are able to develop spiritually. So this, the person who has been your Kalyan Mitra, virtuous friend, who helped you grow virtuously, that is your Dalai Lama. So therefore, that guru can be a wrathful one. Some of them are very fiery. There are some very fiery gurus. And sometimes because of their ferociousness or wrathfulness, we had to do certain things. And because of that, we grow internally, we grow spiritually. So therefore, and sometimes it can be a very gentle guru. It doesn't, and sometimes the guru, so it depends. So that guru can be a monk, a very high lama, just an ordinary simple monk, can be a lay person, can be women, can be anything, can be a beggar even. So that doesn't, there are many lamas in the lineage who were regarded as beggar, but were great practitioners. For example, Milarepa anyway, so if you see Milarepa on the street, you might think that he is just a beggar because of the torn clothes that he wears and the thin kind of fragile body that he has. You might, and then also the green body that he has. So you might. So the point is, the person who makes you grow spiritually, virtuously, immensely, that person is your root guru, and you should visualize that guru. You should, when you have to pick one guru, you might have 17, 18, 30 gurus. So you pick one guru, that guru that is most closest to your heart, closest to your heart in the sense that they made you grow internally, virtuously, immeasurably. So that is your root guru. And so visualize that guru's image and contemplate, think that this guru is the embodiment of all the other gurus and the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas. So the sole embodiment of all the lineage masters from the Buddha to the present, of the teachers from whom you have actually received teachings, of the meditation deity and of the meditation deities as well. Because the meditation deities, so I think I explained the other day during the Mixima that a meditational deity is none other than the personification of the qualities that you will attain or achieve when you become enlightened, and the Buddhas and the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas do possess it at the present. So this is the quality of the Buddha. And when we say Buddha, there are two types of Buddha. There is the future Buddha and there is the present Buddha. The present Buddha are the Buddhas that are the people or the individuals that are already enlightened at the present moment. And the future Buddhas can be Buddhas that have not yet individuals that have not yet achieved their full potential of enlightenment and fulfillment of perfection, fulfillment of the 6 perfections. So this person will become Buddha, and that is known as future Buddhas. But that doesn't mean you are Buddha now. You will become a Buddha once you complete your perfections. So therefore, we call that the resultant Buddha. The causal Buddha is the Buddhas that we see on the altar, and all the Buddhas that we hear about and read about. Those are the causal Buddhas. The Buddha that one day we will become is known as resultant Buddha. Lineage masters from the Buddha to the present, of the teachers from whom you have actually received teachings, of the meditation deities. So meditation deities is the personification of the qualities that you will attain one day. So therefore, they also, the deities also are the your root guru is also the embodiment of the deities, which is none other than the personification of the qualities that you are about to amass, and of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So prostrate to them mentally and make offerings to them. So if you can afford, you can make material offerings. If you cannot, then you can always make mental offerings. A number of great masters who were, during the difficult time in Tibet, after the situation in Tibet, after 1959, a number of great masters, they did much great practices in the prison where they have nothing materially. But they made a lot of mental prostration, mental offering, and so on and so forth. So mentally make offerings to them. So the supplication that we are going to do is as follows. So devani lama yang tabe giwe chinyen tamje dala gongsu su lama yang tabe chinyen tamje dagi gyula tawa chimbo lojong lu tokwa nyamba me ba gewa chingel la du su nga dang da do zemba tada ni du chua dang gingen parje tamje chöge shoso kelshe ba chingel la du su she len sum so tap. So the supplication is, oh my gurus, you who are perfect spiritual friends, please attend to me. Bless me, O my gurus who are perfect spiritual friends, so that unblemished realization of Mahayana mind training may arise within me. Bless me so that I may subdue the grasping of I and self this very instant, and that I may understand all adversities and obstacles as aids to Dharma practice. So mind training is usually about turning obstacles into practice. Without hardship, one will not feel the necessity to practice anything. But when one is faced with hardship, that is when we remember, we recall, and we see the necessity to practice. So therefore, when there is hardship all the time, and as the hardship goes from being bad to worse, that is when our practices can be most intense. So make this supplication 3 times. Oh yeah, then Tagi Lodi Nibekun Pasada Jaba Tamje, Panshin Labor Union Maluba, the Mesangin William the Samla, Lame Bosontola, Jabro Chas. So when we recite the above, the supplication above, you should visualize that my mind is an actual Buddha who has eliminated all the defects, including their propensities, and who is endowed with every higher quality. So the name in Tibetan, Sangye, Sang is to purify or eliminate, eradicate. Sang, eradicate all the defects. And Geba is to flower. So blossom. So blossoming with all the qualities, all the perfected qualities. Sangye. So endowed with every higher quality. So take refuge in the body, speech, and mind of your teacher. Oh yeah. Gomoche. Lame kusungtu rangi lunga yesumla. Lame kusungtu la jamrocha. Tene lama tsangbu ni marchun. Ning wegi pungbe nangdu shunes. Dini sangye ngui nyamdu gomos. Now, after taking refuge into the Buddha mind, body, and speech of the guru, the teacher, imagine that your teacher descends through your crown aperture, so through your crown, and enters your heart. where at your heart there is already the mass of light, which is a heap of light, and contemplate that this is an actual Buddha, meaning this is an actually enlightened state. So one thing is, when we talk about actual Buddha, we always refer to Buddha. When we say the word Buddha, normally we think about historical Buddha, or at least a person. But the actual word for the Buddha doesn't necessarily have to be a person. A Sangye doesn't necessarily have to be a person. Sangye, as I mentioned earlier, means to accumulate it, to eradicate all forms of defects, and blossom with all forms of perfected qualities. So Sangye is the very state of Buddhahood is also Sangye. And all the mind, body, and speech, and all the parts of the Buddha, whether it's a thought, mental, vocal, or physical, any part of the Buddha that is also Sangye or enlightened. So when we say Buddha here, we're actually talking about the state of Buddhahood, or state of enlightenment, So think of the heap of light which is your heart, which is also a heap of light. So think of that as an enlightened state. An enlightened state, as I mentioned earlier, is Sangye, Sang, freed or eliminated of all forms of defects and blossoming with all forms of perfected qualities. So that is the state. That is the state of Buddhahood. As your teacher's body, speech, and mind. Okay. As your teacher's body, speech, and mind dissolves into you, they become the ultimate expanse, which is the great clear light. Tene tele toba chona lama jizu du komos tugon yonso zobe ngwa chas sowa dap tete bi nyin zin chulo soba cha rang kang de ting yin gula kyoje. So when thoughts arise, so the translation here says the thoughts arise. I mean, this is a very literal translation. So we are talking more in the sense of toba, which is conceptual thought. I mean, directly, Tokpa is directly translated as conceptual thought. Tokpa is usually something, the Tibetan word Tokpa is to reflect or to shine upon or reflect on. So in other words, we are talking about distraction. So when the mind is distracted, mind is no longer staying, your mental continuum is no longer within that meditation equipoise or the meditational state of what I just mentioned. When it starts to disperse, so this is what it means by when thoughts arise. We are not talking about an ordinary thought arising. We're not talking about ordinary conceptual thought arising. We are talking about Toba Toa, which is similar to saying when the mind starts to disperse or gets distracted. So in other words, when you are no longer able to withhold the state of meditational mental state that you were in, as mentioned earlier, then visualize your teacher on your crown. Then make dedication towards the fulfillment, make dedications toward the fulfillment of his enlightened aspirations and supplicate towards him. Engage in this meditation approximately 6 times during day and night, and so on, that whatever meditative absorptions you aspire to will arise in your mental continuum. So you might remember that after receiving highest yoga tantra initiations, you have to do the 6-session guru yoga. And when you do the 6-session guru yoga, even though it's very concise and you might be unaware that this is happening, but within the succession in Guru Yoga, this practice is already there. So if you, I mean, yeah, if you refer to the, you remember, so do succession Guru Yoga, we have to do it 6 times, right? So when we do the succession Guru Yoga, we do this practice. So we, when we do the 6 session Guru Yoga, we're not skipping this practice. So that is the as far as the preparatory is. Now, so we are talking. This is more about. So you will see that there is a line that is. I think we have to go to the next page. Can you go to the, yes, the main, yes, first training in the preliminaries. So you can see the words are emboldened here. So these are actually from the Lojong Tsawa, which was written by Adisha, the master Adisha. So the emboldened lines were actually from the root text of Lojong, the root lines of Lojong, which was written by Lama Adisha. So that is the root line from the Lama Adisha's Lojong Tsawa. So this particular text, the one we are reading, is explaining what that means. So first training in the preliminaries. So this is quote unquote, this is from Lama Adisha. This is threefold, the preliminaries. Oh yeah. 다 당봉원도 달랄랍 제반니 텔라숨데 텐조니 볼까와니 텐조기 추여삼데 디닝 볼랑차 추기 촉로장와 이베곰 텐조톱야 땐도 대왕 메베 메 레기 펜바세나 남지 참에 치외도수 추규라마 예버 규 신도 신나 텔레판바 메베 로종 고여삼 나 신에 메버 면조 깨와 랭고 발라 코와 간도 개냐 동행이랑 신이 베테 빵와차 대주도 로종곰 랑규라 사베 디디장 So now we will read. Yeah. This is threefold. As for the rarity of, one must contemplate on the rarity of. So let me read the text first. As for the rarity of attaining a human existence of leisure and opportunity, contemplate the qualities of leisure and opportunity, and take their essence. So take their essence. Okay. So first is contemplate on the qualities. Even though it says qualities here, where we are more or less we are talking about the aspect rather than qualities, because it's not necessarily a quality. Anyway, it's not a rituals quality. So we are more or less, when we say quality, we are more or less talking about aspects of leisure and opportunity. So when we say leisure and opportunity, there are Joba Ge, Teva Ge, and Joba Ju. So there are 8 leisures and 10 opportunities. So so when we talk about the human race or human life as being precious, we usually required to think about the Tevagi and Jowachu, which is the 8 leisures and the 8 leisures and 10 opportunities. So I don't know whether we have to go through this if we have time. Okay. Anyway, so this you can understand later. So so a human, a perfect human being, not a perfect human being. I mean, we talk about a rare, the rarity the rarity of humankind. We are required to be reminded of how only the human being having the Tebage and Jobachu, the 8 quality, the 8 aspect of leisure and 10 aspects of opportunities. So if you a question, we will go into this later. So now then take their essence. So this is a very literal translation. So when we say take their essence, it actually means now we have to take this into account and then work on it. So in other words, this means take into account that as a human being, we have the luxury of having the 18 qualities of leisure and opportunities. So therefore, we must take that into account and we must use them wisely. We must utilize them wisely. So this is the meaning of take their essence. Since mind training is the supreme Dharma practice, you should engage in this. So how should one? So how should one take this essence? Take the essence. You must take into essence, or you must take into account all these the luxury of possessing the 18 leisure and opportunities that you have by now focusing on the practice of Dharma. And among the Dharma practices, mind training is the supreme. So this, anyway, okay. So since mind training is the supreme Dharma practice, you should engage into this. Now, second, even if you obtain a human existence of leisure and opportunity, you cannot remain permanently. So as luxurious as it is, as fortunate as it is, a human life does not remain permanently, remain forever. So therefore, and when the force of your karma is exhausted, there is no telling when you might die. Actually, when the force of your karma is exhausted, then you will die. So when the force of your karma is exhausted, then there is not, you will certainly die. So there is the simile given is that the force of an arrow that is being shot from a bow. So the arrow can reach as much as the strength that the string of the bow can throw it onto. When the strength or the power of the bow string that has that threw the arrow, that shot the arrow, exhausts, then the arrow automatically drops. So similarly, our life ends when our karma exhausts. When we say karma, we are talking about one particular set of karma, which is what we call one cycle of 12 dependents, 12 dependent arising, 12 dependent links. So we're talking about one cycle of dependent links because your karma is never over, but we're talking within one sort of cycle of dependent links, that karma is exhausted, so then you die. There is no telling when you might die. At the time of death, there is no worse defeat. There's no worse defeat than dying with remorse, bereft of any Dharma realization. Therefore, train your mind. So this is actually now a contemplation on the rarity of humankind, and so therefore the necessity to do put practice. Oh yeah. Then therefore train your mind. After death, you do not stop becoming. So it's not like when after death there is nothing. You stop becoming anything. You no longer exist. You are gone into oblivion. It isn't such. After death, what comes is birth. As I mentioned earlier, 12 dependent link, one cycle of 12 dependent link is over, which adjourns to another 12 dependent links. So therefore, after death comes birth. You must take rebirth. Wherever you may be reborn in cyclic existence will be subject to suffering. You should therefore relinquish cyclic existence. So this is otherwise known as renunciation. And to this end, that you should practice mind training. So this is mind training in a single session. So it's very concise, very, you can do it very quickly and very useful. if we were to talk about this extensively, then the whole Lamrim is all about that. You can there is a long subject text on how to think about the aspect of the variety of humankind and so on and so forth, and why you should practice and so on and so forth. This is a long one, but we will do it very in a concise manner. You should therefore relinquish cyclic existence, and to this end that you should practice mind training. Purify your mental continuum of negative karma and the obscurations you have accumulated, and towards others cultivate loving, and towards others cultivate loving kindness. Practice purification of your own mental continuum.
Rinpoche, did you freeze?
So I think in India, that very heavy raining right now.
And
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, here he is. Here he is, Geshe-la.
and the awakening mind. So we have 5 minutes more. So this is the up to this is the preparatory practice. 예, 당보 군도 전주기 있으면 돈이 니고 빼말장 렘베 고림 라네 띠제베 제바니 달라와 치메 치마 팬당 겨와 치메 치마 팬당 타나 상팬민유 농해 군중 탐지 다다메 뭐 교지기냐 삼스 삼제 대산배 경년 조수 교육 고바 유치 okay. Two parts, of which the first is the conventional awakening mind is as follows. So conventional awakening is known as the root lines of Lojong from Atisha, Master Atisha. Train alternately in the two, giving and taking. Commence the sequence of taking from yourself.
So
there are origins that are likely to befall you in your future lives, including even those you advance all of your future sufferings to now, because what befalls us the most, what when we were taken unaware of, when something befalls us when we were unaware of, that is the most shocking experience. But when we are aware of, when we are aware and when we are ready and we are waiting for the sufferings or anything to come upon us, for like when we are giving our sufferings the surprise, that means we are at the vantage point. So we are in hiding and our sufferings are approaching us, and then we pounce upon our suffering. So this is the idea of mind training, and this is the idea of advancing your the problems of your future to now. Of course, your sufferings in reality cannot be brought forward, but this is how we mentally prepare ourselves, so that when it actually comes, we will not be caught off guard. So reflecting this has the advantage of transforming adverse conditions into complementary factors. Oh yeah, you should then, oh yeah, teacher. Then some go use. Then it's a lamala chamba the ninja gomla, Dunga Gunjong Tamji Shetapan Lang. Patient of Simjan Tamji Ki Tang, Papa Sumi Shitip Tamji Lang, Donna Lama the Sange Madobe, Kode Gyan Tamji Rangi, Ningan to Lang, Tadarian, Lang Pe, produce several over Chon. In people Tarkaba someday, Tarya Ranshin maybe on Shagos. So you should, after that, you should then cultivate loving kindness and compassion towards your real life mother or biological mother. And from the depth of your heart, take all her sufferings and their origins upon yourself. So we start with our mother first. And then once we perfect in that practice, we perfect ourselves. We familiarize ourselves in this practice, then we can replicate the same practice upon others. So from the depth of your heart, okay. Similarly, take the subtle obscuration to knowledge from all sentient beings and the three noble beings. So the three noble beings have not yet reached complete enlightenment or complete Buddhahood, Samyak Sambuddha. So they are not yet Buddhas. So therefore, they also have subtle obscurations towards the what we call Sheje Diba, subtle obscurations to knowledge. So we take everything. We not only take the coarser kind of the raw suffering as we call them in a day-to-day life, in a worldly way, like a headache, depression, this and that, but also the most subtle forms of suffering from which rises all other forms of coarser level sufferings also. So in a way, the obscuration, the subtle obscurations to knowledge, in a way, is a form of suffering, as subtle as it may be. In brief, you take upon yourself, similarly take the subtle obscuration to knowledge from all sentient beings and the three noble beings. In brief, you take upon your heart all the deficiencies of samsara and nirvana from all beings except your teacher and the Buddhas. Because your teachers, you already envision them as enlightened enlightened individuals. So they are free, they are bereft from any forms of defects. So except for your teachers and the Buddhas, all the other beings in samsara as well is in the state of nirvana, like a number of Dajumba arhats, four destroyers. So they all have deficiencies, they all have defects, which you also take them into your heart. Taking these repeatedly, when your shoulders ache, you imagine your body to be a balloon filling with air that expands to pervade the entire expanse of space. You then place your mind in the absence of intrinsic existence. So when you visualize that, so you have to do this repeatedly. You take into yourself all the sufferings of mother sentient beings, except for your teacher and the Buddhas, all the individuals, you take their deficiencies, their defects into yourself. And so when you do it repeatedly, so it's like talking to a depressed person. When you spend quite a long time with a depressed person, normally when you are unprepared, when you spend time with a person who is very much depressed, then you will start to get depressed too. So similarly, when you keep doing the practice of sharing the defects, which in other words is suffering, whether it is coarse or subtle, there are forms of suffering. So when you take those suffering into yourself, when you keep doing this again and again, over and over, then you started to feel this suffering, kind of depressed, and it starts to permeate into your body, and then you start to ache. Your body starts to ache, and your body starts to shake as well. And when this happens, so this is, you can take that as a sign that you took all the forms of suffering of mother sentient beings within you. And now when that happens, visualize your body in the form of, as we did in the very beginning, in the form of balloon filled with air, something that you can, that will sway here and there, even if we just blow onto it. So normally when we are depressed and when we are, stuck down, when we are gloomy, when we are into these things, we feel kind of tightened. We feel kind of, when we feel kind of tightened, we feel like there's something for us to grasp onto. And then when we feel gloomy, we feel depressed, we feel down, we feel as if we are being pulled by something below us. So there is something for us to be pulled up, down, pulled up, and pulled by. So in all the sense, it feels as if there is a substance here. There's a substance that can be pulled. There's a substance that can be tethered. But when we visualize our whole body, the wholeness of our body, as a balloon, a balloon filled with only air and thin air, then it feels light. And then you visualize that the air, the balloon filled with air, expanding, so some sort of an extrapolation. So it starts to extrapolate, and then it is what we call ga, or Tim. So entire expanse, so it pervades into the entire expanse of it starts to extrapolate into the very expanse of space itself. You then place your mind, so when you do that, after you kind of blow away your body, which is none other, which right now, which at this very moment is nothing more than a balloon filled with air and thin air, then there is an absence. You feel an absence. Dongsang, there is an absence here. There's a vacuum here. So within that vacuumic state or absent state, you remain. So place your mind means meditate upon that. So we stop here, I think. It's time. So we stop here. I think our time is up. So open for Q&As. Some Q&As.
Hello, Rinpoche.
Hello.
I'm sorry, you hear me?
I can hear you clearly, loud and clear,
Okay.
yes.
That was so profound. This goes by so quickly. Was the balloon a form of emptiness? Was there an aspect of the emptiness meditation to that?
Okay, so there's no actual balloon. So the balloon is just a simile given. So you have to think your body as light as a balloon filled with air and only air. So yeah, so a balloon filled with only air. When the balloon is not filled, then it is quite difficult to play with it. You cannot sway it here and there. But when the balloon is filled with air, then you can sway it here and there. So in other sense, that balloon, which is filled with air, has no kind of, let's say, stability, nothing to, yeah, it does not hold on its own. So it can be swayed here and there. Similarly, one must visualize your body. When you first visualize start contemplating on all the sufferings of all the sentient beings, when you take the sufferings of all other sentient beings upon yourself, you start to feel the suffering, you start to feel the depression, and then it gets you, it gets onto you, it eats you, and then you start to, you know, get gloomier and gloomier, and it starts to get to you. But then when it starts to get to you so much that it becomes physical, you start, you know, you start your the shoulders start to ache and so on and so forth. Then you visualize then you change your mindset. Then you change change the meditation. Then you visualize the wholeness of your body. You visualize your body turning into something similar to not into a balloon, but something like a balloon that is filled with air and only air. So there is no longer anything to hold you down. There is the suffering and everything is transformed into what is otherwise known as expanse of emptiness.
Okay, so it was emptiness. Okay.
Yeah.
That was my question. Was that an aspect of, are we moving into an aspect of emptiness at that point?
Yeah. It is.
And should at that point, is it okay? I always find at that point, there's a danger for me to get overwhelmed or possibly even slightly distracted by how overwhelmed or such intense wave of energy will come over me. Is it okay to go into a bodhicitta prayer, Om Mani Padme Hum, or something to bring us back? Like say we go into a really expansive emptiness realm, but it's almost too much for us to really take in. You know, we're just, you know, getting a little bit too out there, I guess you would say. Ground ourselves back to the bodhicitta so we do not forget our motivation. I think that's my biggest thing, is getting lost in the meditation and that beauty of getting lost in the meditation, because we felt the suffering, our bodies feel the suffering every day, and we elevate. And then we have the danger then of losing that bodhicitta. So go right back into that. I find I need to do that almost if it means to pull myself out of meditation a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very, very, very good question. Very relevant here. And as you just said, so this is more like taking you back into the reality. So, you know, in a way, for a while, you go into this bubble, let's say the bubble of emptiness, the bubble of meditation, open bubble of meditation on emptiness. You go into that state for a little bit, and then you come back to reality. The reality is that we have to cultivate compassion and loving kindness, and loving kindness and compassion for oneself and others. So you come back to that. So the earlier practice, that of getting lost into the vastness of emptiness, that part that part is also a practice upon cultivating, or what we might say, the sharpening the wisdom sword. So therefore, this is also very important. So you need to sharpen your wisdom sword as much as you can, but then not so much that you get carried away, sharpening and sharpening so much so that you actually lost the sword itself. So in order to do that, you need to come back to the reality of cultivating bodhicitta.
Yes, so teacher, I think that's so important, because I'm finding that I'm getting better, slightly better in my post-meditative state. You know, bringing that bodhicitta into the post-meditative state, into the daily practice, into the waking practice. These are so helpful. We're so grateful to have you.
Absolutely.
Tashi Delay for being here. No words, but we are so profoundly honored, because it is helping the post-meditative state is where we struggle. I struggle the most. So thank you so much.
Oh, very grateful that I can help. Next question, please. If someone is speaking, I cannot hear them.
I have a
Maybe we need
question.
to... Oh, please go on.
Okay.
Tia, okay, please, Tia, go on.
I have a yes. Hi.
Hello.
I have a question because can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Please go on.
Okay. Yes, thank you. So I have a question because I was also I've been looking at various teachings and I can't quite tell you where I was taught this, but I was told that you should allow others to have their whatever it is that they are struggling with, to allow them to be able to take that on because it is their journey to development. It is that their path, and you can come in as support and guidance, but it is almost as if you
should not
if
interfere.
you take it, yeah, you should not interfere because it prevents their growth. Almost like a butterfly who is trying to escape the chrysalis. So could you, is this something that takes that place, or could you explain?
Well, I don't, yeah, I do not recollect where, I mean, I don't remember, I haven't seen that particular quote that you just said, or the lines, and yeah, I don't remember seeing that anywhere. But but there are people who do say that a lot, and so in regards to that, I want to say a few things. I think that's a very relevant question, especially during difficult times. So this is in relevance to people. Actually, even though I haven't seen that in books, I have heard about this encounter with great masters even. And this is something that I not necessarily agree with. So what you just said about interference here. So one thing is, I think maybe it's relevant. It is exactly relevant to what you just asked. So there are a number of teachers, quite a number of teachers who, especially in the stories that I heard from, are in the Chinese Buddhist tradition. So the masters were very sick. And then the students were worried, and then they asked the master to take medical treatment and so on and so forth. But the master would say, "Oh, I won't do that because I got all these illnesses and this and that because of my karma, and so my karma I was meant to be suffering this and that because of my karma." So now this is in the same line, from my understanding. This is saying this is the same way as thinking that what some people say Buddhism is always all bad news. So we talk about karma a lot. We talk when Buddha starts speaking, he talk about the Four Noble Truths, which is suffering and so on and so forth. But then there is another aspect of karma as well. So when we talk about karma is not always negative. There is a positive karma and negative karma as well. So the negative karma made you go through all the sufferings. That is certainly true. All the sufferings that you are going through, to put it bluntly, you deserve it because it's your own karma that made you go through all the suffering. But in another way, yeah. So I'm being very blunt here. And another sense is, you see people coming to support you. You see, you can afford medical treatment. You can do this and that. There is a lot of other possibilities. There are a lot of possibilities for you to come out of this situation, which means all the positive karmas that you have accumulated in the past have also accumulated in this very occasion for you to come out of this suffering state as well. So you do not necessarily have to go through. So the treatment and all these forms are the interference that we are referring to. So the interference also didn't come out of nowhere. just as the suffering or the difficulties came from karma, which you deserve, the interference towards the suffering, towards the difficulty that you are going through, also came out of your positive karma, which also you deserve. So you deserve to go through the suffering, as well as to be diverted from the suffering that you are going through because of your positive karma. So you deserve both. You deserve the bad karma, you deserve the good karma, because they are both your handiwork. Now, that being said, this is one step. For an ordinary person, this is one step. If you were to be a Lojong practitioner, a mind training practitioner, or a Bodhisattva practitioner, Mahayana practitioner, then this takes into another scale. Like if you want to, if you intentionally want to take the suffering of others, that is another matter. But from a general perspective, you have both options. You are going through a certain form of facet of suffering, and you also have a way out. And when you see a way out, you should take the way out, because your karma, you deserve that as well from your positive karma. But if you wish to do this in order to go through like a trial for yourself, that is another matter. You feel like, in order to strengthen my mind training practice, in order to strengthen my resilience, I will go through the suffering, the difficult, the complicated, the diseases that I have, and I will not take treatment. I will not let other people interfere with eradication of reduction of my suffering. Then that is another matter. But for an ordinary person, when there is a way, you should take the way out. I hope this helps.
Okay. It has helped me. It has actually taking on others' suffering. Is it helping them to lift as well?
I don't. So this has to be, there has to be a karmic link for someone to. If there is a karmic link between the person that you are taking the suffering off that person, then you will be able to kind of lighten their load in a sense. That is why so when we make prayers for someone who near and dear ones that have gone by, of course we always invite monks to do the prayers, and therefore, because the monks usually keep vows and they keep practicing all the time, so therefore their prayers are very powerful. The next most powerful prayer is that of their next of kins, their loved ones and dear ones, because they have a karmic connection. So therefore, when they make the aspiration for that person to lighten their load, burden, this helps tremendously. But if there is no karmic link, then it's quite difficult to say that this will lighten their burden. But it will help you immensely to strengthen your Lojong practices. And also to live, and also to live with difficulty, of course. Yeah, it helps you to live with difficulty, how to tread with difficulties.
I see. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. That was very helpful.
Okay, we have, I think, 7 minutes left. If there are no questions, then So I don't know how many people are there still.
I have a quick one. I have a quick last one. Hi. How many times? We have so many practices to do now, which is so exciting. How many times a day is this appropriate, or could we do once a day? Trying to put together a series of practices, going for refuge, of course, in the morning, and we've been doing prostrations with Geshe-la, Dargi, prostrations, going for refuge, and our meditations on various aspects of 6 paramitas or other aspects of dependent arising. So with those, what time is there even a time of day where this would be appropriate to do?
Okay. This particular practice. So, okay. So as the text itself says, you should do this practice 6 times a day. So 3 in the morning and 3 in the evening.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's what I said. If you are doing the 6 session Guru Yoga, then this practice is already in there.
Oh, good. Okay. Thank you.
So you do not have to do any additional practices.
It's okay to do additional. I wish I didn't have.
I know. I'm just joking.
I love that. In a way, this is the great auspiciousness of the time we're in. It's just that some of us.
Oh yeah. Right.
We're working from home, so we don't have full time. But thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's it. So we have 4 minutes. Now I think we shall conclude the teaching today. So if you remember, we did the Mixima last time. I don't know if you can still do it or not, but I will do the Mixima as well. So a few things that I forgot to tell last time is that Mixima is, the reason I chose Mixima, I explained a few things earlier also, but one of the things is that Mixima is regarded as a very powerful practice for eradication of different maladies. And so therefore, because we are going through a very difficult time, so doing Mixima, especially praying to the Vajrapani, is very powerful. He is someone who is meant to quell venomous beings. So venomous being, a serpent having a venomous the sting and so on and so forth. But this is merely symbolic, which it actually refers to different types of maladies and so on and so forth. And another thing is, if you're having bad dream and so on and so forth, Mixima is very good for nightmare, to stop nightmare and so on and so forth. Okay, so now we will do the dedication first, and then I will sing the Mixima, and then okay. So the Mixima has been sent. So if you look at the whiteboard, you can find it there. Okay. Chanju semjo jembo chemaje banam kejore chikeba nyamba meba yang kone kondo pewa sho toni tawa maje banam ganam kejore kewa nyamba meba yang kone kondo pewa sho temba jikden kamso chemba temba nye shindo sa tenzen pono shindo temba yuri nebe tashi sho nimodele tendele nime konya so mix them at one time.
San Jai Bi Shai Lai Sui Wan Bo San Jai Bi Shai Lai Sui Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rinpoche.
Thank you.
Oh, thank
Thank
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. That was very
Thank
nice.
you.
See you next week.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.